Hey, this is Chris with the President's Club with your second week into the Psychology of Selling by Brian Tracy and the part two of the inner game of selling. And so we'll go ahead and get started, jumping right back in where we left off from the content from last week. So point number one is the key result areas of selling. He calls them the KRAs, are the 7 key result areas. Here they are: prospecting, building rapport, identifying needs, presenting, answering objections, closing the sale, getting resales, and referrals. These are the 7 areas that you need to get good at in order to be successful at selling. Your self-concept in each of these 7 areas determines your performance in these areas, as well as your overall income for the sales that you're doing. Remember, your self-concept is the bundle of beliefs that you have about yourself. And so the way you believe about yourself in prospecting, the way you believe about yourself in answering objections, that'll directly tie to the way you answer the objection or the way you move forward. So fortunately, everyone who is good at any of these areas at one point was poor at it. No one was created really good at answering objections, or no one was created really good at building rapport. They got better at these areas, and if they got better at these areas, you can as well. If you have a poor self-concept with regard to any particular area, whether it's identifying the needs or getting referrals, if you have a poor self-concept, you will avoid that activity whenever possible. And you'll come up with different ways not to do that activity. So what you have to do is you have to work on those things, get better at those skills. So you've probably already thought, between prospecting, building rapport, identifying needs, presenting, answering objections, closing the sale, and getting referrals and resales, you already know which area you're weakest at and which area you're strongest at. So point number 2 is master the skill. Get better at what you do. Sometimes what we do is we just go through the motions over and over again thinking we're going to get a different result. We know that that's the definition of insanity. The way you get better is through your education and experience. It's knowledge and doing. It's hearing and doing. So first of all, what areas do you need to get better at? And then what education can you use to get better at them? Let's say presenting might be an area that you're struggling with. Well, what videos can you watch? What MP3s can you listen to in order to help you to get better at that area? So the first part of getting better is education, and finding places that you can improve and finding resources to improve. The second part, though, is experience. This is you moving forward and getting to work. Learning how to swim, it's very important that you get in the water. And so it's not just education, but it's experience, so it's doing. The best way to learn how to sell is by selling and learning and reading and listening throughout the process of you going through the sales. The more you learn and the more you do, the better you become. The second part of mastering the skill is face your fears. Face your fears. Your self-concept is largely subjective. It's not based on reality. It's based on the ideas and the thoughts that you have about yourself, especially the self-limiting beliefs that you have that are not true. And so once you understand that your self-concept can be controlled by what you say and what you believe about yourself, you can begin to change it. Many people doubt their ability to excel in any particular area. And even though it is not true, it becomes true. Brian Tracy explains this: belief creates the actual fact. Belief creates the actual fact. In other words, the more you believe something, the truer it becomes in your life. If you believe that you are limited in some way, you will feel and act as if you are limited, and it will eventually become true. If you tell a child that they're a bad child or they're a bad kid, they will begin to believe they're a bad kid, and when they believe they're a bad kid, they begin to behave as if they're a bad kid, which then makes them a bad kid. It wasn't that they were a bad kid originally, they were just normal, but because of the way that they believed about themselves, it affected their behavior. Same is true in sales. If you believe you are bad at sales, then you'll behave in such a way that you are bad at sales, then you will become bad at sales. It's a choice you make. The third part in mastering the skill is don't sell yourself short. Some people feel they are terrible at closing sales. As long as you think that and say it to yourself, then you will be terrible at sales. You have to change your words and change your thinking. Master the skill by your education and experience. And then as you're getting better, begin to change your thinking that you are capable of accomplishing sales success. Number 3 is challenge your self-limiting beliefs. Challenge your self-limiting beliefs. The good news is that your self-limiting beliefs are usually based on erroneous information. They are not based on fact or reality. They're normally based on opinions or feelings that you have that aren't actually true. Because they are unreal, you can get rid of them by replacing them with new, positive beliefs of confidence and competence in any area. You give me 2 salespeople, put them side by side, and one person who believes that they are good at sales, and one person who believes they're bad at sales, and the person that believes they're good at sales will eventually be making more sales than the person who believes they're bad. Why? Because of the self-concept they have of themselves. So you have to challenge those self-limiting beliefs. Louis Hay said that the core problem that each person has is the feeling that I'm not good enough. The feeling that I'm not good enough for whatever it is I'm doing. We all have that feeling that the people who are doing better than us are actually better than us, even though that's not true. But by theory, if they are better than us, we unconsciously conclude that we must be worse than they are. If they are worth more than we are, then we come to the conclusion that we must be worth less. This false conclusion is the fundamental cause of most unhappiness and lack of productivity in our society. If you look at the leaderboard and you see someone's name and you think they are better than me, then unconsciously what you're saying is you're worse than them. If you think they're worth more than you, then unconsciously what you're saying is you're worth less than them. And when you start to believe you're worth less, you start to act like less. So we're talking about challenging your self-limiting beliefs and your self-concept, having a self-concept that you are good at sales. Number 4, the reactor core of your self-concept is your self-esteem. Self-esteem is best defined as how much you like yourself. The degree to which you like yourself in any area is the key, a determining factor of your performance and effectiveness in that area. How much you like yourself determines how good you will be at what you're doing. When you really like yourself in a particular role, you perform at your best in that role. When you think you are doing that you are good and you have the ability, you have the tend to perform in that capacity. The more you like yourself, the more you like other people. The more you like other people, the more those people like you in return. The more you like yourself, the more you like your customers. The more you like your customers, the more they like you. The more they like you, the more they buy from you. So you understanding your self-esteem affects your sales should directly tie to the words that you say to yourself on a daily basis. Number 5, the great discovery. Because of the power of your mind in determining your life and destiny, one of the greatest discoveries in history is that you become what you think about most of the time. You become what you think about most of the time. Because your mind is so powerful, because your mind has the ability to affect your life, whatever you think about most is what you become like most. That's why you find happy people that think happy thoughts, successful people that think successfully. You find people that think about love a lot, that love a lot, because what you think about is what you become. You also become what you say to yourself most of the time. So if you're saying to yourself that you are not good at sales, you will become not good at sales. If you say to yourself you are good at sales, you will become good at sales. Brian Tracy writes in his book and says when he first began in sales, the thing that he did was every morning through every night, he told himself over and over and over again, I like myself and I'm good at sales. I like myself and I'm good at sales. He did this, he said, until it became part of his subconscious that he likes himself and he's good at sales. So he created the self-concept that he wanted to have to be successful. Number 6, the best time to make a sale. The best time to make a sale is right after you make a sale because your self-esteem soars. You know what it's like after you've made a sale and you feel incredible. You feel terrific. You feel like you're a great salesperson. You feel like you're confident, like you have the ability to really close anybody. That feeling directly ties to your self-esteem, and it affects the way you treat other people. When you feel like a winner, you act like a winner. When you feel terrific, you act like you're terrific. When you go to your next client, because you feel like a terrific salesperson, you perform at your best. Your positive attitude and confident bearing will trigger a desire at a subconscious level for them to buy from you. Because of the words that you're saying and the confidence you have in your ability, they feel comfort in buying from you and they feel like they should buy more. That's why a person like Brent Swindell or Mark Hutchison, they seem to sell so much so quickly because of their belief level in themselves is growing every time they make a sale because they see how good they are. So as they go into that next home, they're coming in from a place of confidence instead of a place of weakness. So the big thing to take away from this week is you've got to tell yourself that you like yourself and that you are good at sales. You have to believe this on the inside so that you can start acting that way on the outside. Thank you for plugging in, and we'll see you next week.